Tonight on CFTK-TV News, environmental concerns over LNG Canada's flaring. A group is in court challenging the substantial start of the KSM gold mine. And the Niska Nation welcomes university teams from across the country.
Northwest BC's only television news team. We are CFTK-TV News.
Hello, and thanks for joining us on this Thursday, September 25th, 2025. I'm Jaylene Matthews. We'll begin tonight with a recent study that illustrates the high flaring emissions produced by LNG facility startups. CFTK-TV's Kale Maslin has the report.
A first-of-its-kind, peer-reviewed study focusing on the practice of flaring at liquefied natural gas export facilities has been publicly released. The study that began around a year and a half ago took a decade's worth of data between 2012 to 2022 from a total of 48 LNG facilities around the world, and what the researchers discovered was concerning.
The main finding was that the emissions from the startup operations, which are rarely talked about, those emissions are 3 times more intense than the emissions during regular operations. And so it's sort of an unreported hazard to health that is happening in British Columbia at this very moment.
Flaring emits air pollutants that have been said to be harmful to humans even in short periods. The study also stated that most environmental assessments overlook the startup phase and, as a result, might underestimate potential health impacts on local populations. And while it wasn't included in the study because it hadn't been finished being built at the time, the researchers have heard from Kitimat residents about their concerns with their own recently opened LNG facility, although the researchers do have some new information on the emissions produced by that particular facility.
I've seen videos and I've heard from many residents complaining about the smoke coming over the city and also the noise that the flare was making. We can see online all the flaring notifications that LNG Canada is sending, and we've seen there's regularly, we counted about 20 notifications over the past year for flaring that would occur over multiple days or even weeks, and with flares that go from like 60 meters to 80, 90, or even 120 we've seen recently.
What we know from the emissions profile of the Kitimat plant, that there are exposures to the community, and we now know that the startup operations, which Kitimat is still undergoing, are some of the most high-emitting parts of the history of the facility.
The main reason this study was called first of its kind is because it used data from a satellite that could take pictures of flares and then provide an estimate of the volume of gas that was flared. But work on the study is not yet finished, as there is set to be a second part to it.
In the study that just got published, we developed probabilistic models to say there's like 10 or 20% chances that a facility will burn that much gas, will flare that much gas over its startup phase. And we want to use those results and apply them to wood fiber LNG that is under construction in Squamish, just to see if we would get different results from their environmental impact assessment, which did not include startup flaring.
It's been estimated that the second part of the study will be released in the fall of next year. For CFTK-TV News, I'm Kale Maslin.
A new judicial review has been filed against the PRGT pipeline. This comes just after another case against the pipeline was dismissed in August. The first case was against the BC Energy Regulator for approving the start of construction in August 2024 without a cumulative effects assessment. That judicial review was argued at the BC Supreme Court in March and was dismissed. Eco-justice lawyer Matt Hulse says his clients are not appealing that decision. This new judicial review has also been filed in the BC Supreme Court. It challenges a decision by the Minister of Environment that the PRGT project was substantially started by the November 25th, 2024 deadline in the project's environmental assessment certificate, although the decision was delegated to and made by the Chief Executive Assessment Officer, Alex McLennan. This case does not involve the BC Energy Regulator. And this is not exactly the same group of clients as the first case. Both cases involve the Skeena Watershed Conservation Coalition and the Kispiox Valley Community Center Association. However, this new case also involves a local resident, Kathy Larson, but not the Kispiox Band. Their application asks the court to find the head of the Environmental Assessment Office was unreasonable in determining that construction on the PRGT project was substantially started before the November 25, 2024 deadline, when its environmental assessment certificate would have expired. The coalition argues the limited construction that occurred only 3 months before the deadline is not a substantial start of the massive pipeline project. They say that after nearly 10 years of inactivity, the pipeline company only partially cleared trees from about 5% of the pipeline route and built some limited supporting infrastructure. The pipeline, which has faced strong opposition from some frontline communities, will cut across northern BC to the west coast, transporting fracked gas for export overseas as liquefied natural gas. The coalition say they are concerned that the PRGT pipeline will have significant impacts on communities and the environment in the region.
You know, these projects, they have to meet climate emissions, or at least that was how people were coerced in thinking that these might be good. Oh, it's going to clean up the climate. LNG or natural gas is the cleanest burning fossil fuel. It is, but the extraction, liquefaction, piping process makes it dirtier or as dirty as coal. So it's not actually going to clean climate. It's going to make it worse. It's like pouring gas on the climate fire and saying we're doing climate action.
Environment Minister Tamara Davidson said she was confident in the decision made by the CEAO at the time of the determination. The Skeena Wild Conservation Trust is also in BC Supreme Court in order to challenge a decision made by the Environmental Assessment Office saying that the proposed Care Sulphurates Mitchell mine is substantially started. Skeena Wild said the decision was made through an environmental assessment process that's over a decade out of date, and that the proposed mine is a threat to both the Nass and Inuk rivers, which are said to act as lifelines for Pacific salmon and ulican. Canada's largest environmental law charity, EcoJustice, is representing Skeena Wild in this case, and they've put forth the argument that the project can't be substantially started since the Environmental Assessment Office considered irrelevant information in their assessment and that the mining company has completed minimal physical work. This case could end up affecting how substantial start decisions for similar projects in the future are made. North Coast Haida Gwaii MLA Tamara Davidson was reached for comment about this case, but did not respond by our deadline. And all roads lead to the Nisga'a Nations as they host a major basketball tournament today through the weekend in Nuayanch, welcoming teams from across Canada, including powerhouse universities and their very own Nisga'a Select All-Stars. CFTK-TV's Helen Asante reports.
It's a Canada West tournament. We kind of decided that we really wanted to just bring some attention to the Nisga'a Nation and the beauty there and the hospitality there. And last year went over so well with the universities that this year we've worked with. It's more than just basketball. I mean, I love basketball and I know the Nisga'a Nation loves basketball, but there's just more to it. And I guess in the 8 years that I've been running basketball camps there, I've just learned so much about their culture, and I've been welcomed to, I could have never expected to receive that kind of kindness and love in what we do. It is completely for free. The Nisga'a people do it for the North in a hope that people will come up, that people will take the time to come up and catch games. Thursday night, the games are at 5 and 7 in both Nuayanch and in Gingoks or Kincolith. And then on Friday, so Friday's games are at 5 and 7 in Nuayanch and Greenville. And then Saturday's games are at 2 and 4, followed by a banquet and dinner and awards presentation in Gilastamix, Nuayanch. Yeah. Canada West has jumped on board, and now we're up to 7 teams attending this year and excited. I mean, yeah, teams from Winnipeg. University of Winnipeg is bringing a women's team. Regina men's team. MacEwan University out of Edmonton is bringing a men's team. University of Calgary is bringing a women's team. University of Northern British Columbia and Prince George is bringing both women's and men's. University of Fraser Valley is bringing a women's team.
Among the lineups, one team to watch is the Nisga'a Select All-Stars, taking the court against some of the best talent in the country. It's more than basketball. It's about bringing people together through sports and culture, a weekend of celebration, competition, and pride for the Nisga'a Nation. CFTK-TV, Helena Sante.
Coming up next, the BCGEU strike expands again. The Prince Rupert Port Authority has announced they have donated $108,000 through their Community Investment Fund to the new Visiting Specialist Clinic at the Prince Rupert Regional Hospital. And thanks to those funds, the clinic is now going to be able to give North Coast residents more access to specialized health care. The clinic has hired 20 specialists that are offering services such as cardiology, neurology, pediatrics, as well as ears, nose, and throat. A new wave of circumstances has been introduced in the BCGEU employees' strike. CTV's Kevin Schrack reports.
From Vancouver to Victoria, BC liquor store employees took to the picket lines.
This is part of a broader escalation after 3 weeks of solid picketing, making this the longest civil service strike in the history of the province.
25 stores across the province have shut their doors, in addition to the liquor distribution branch warehouses that halted operations on Monday. The restaurant industry is already anticipating liquor shortages in the coming weeks.
I think everybody's disappointed, confused, frustrated, wondering why we part of a labor dispute we have nothing to do with, but now we're being used as a weapon to try to get a settlement.
BC restaurants are mandated to purchase alcohol through the province's stores or warehouses.
It is from Mendoza, Argentina.
Wine importer Jasmine Montgomery also relies on the liquor distribution branch and says she and others are caught in the crossfire.
So they are shut down. They're not receiving orders, which means they're not processing orders, so nobody's getting product, and I don't get paid. Okay, so I'm making no money.
Despite potential hardship for restaurants and suppliers, the union is calling for their support.
We want the support of the restaurant industry, liquor industry, to pressure government to come back to the table for a fair deal.
On the one hand, they're hurting us. Now they're asking us to help them, and they've never picked up the phone, even explained it to us. So that's not going to happen.
Finch says stronger action was inevitable as contract talks have stalled.
The last offer from government was 2-2. That was rejected by a 93% strike vote of civil servants. Our last offer at the table was 4% in the first year, 4.25 in the second year.
To help preserve its supply, the BC Liquor Distribution Branch is putting a cap on its purchases for retail and hospitality customers to a maximum of 3 of the same product per day. That excludes beer and Bordeaux wine. Kevin Schrack, CTV News, Vancouver.
The province says it is launching a third intake for BC municipalities to access funding for faster, more efficient delivery of new homes. It says the province is investing $9 million in the latest intake of the Government Development Approvals Program, which will open in early 2026. If approved, applying municipalities are expected to begin receiving funding by the middle of next year. The program is meant to support costs involved in both boosting municipal capacity to process the construction of new homes, including improving the permitting system and development approvals. Next, we'll take a look at your Northwest weather report. Tonight on the North Coast, expect showers, about 10 millimeters of rain, winds from the southeast at 20 kilometers an hour, gusting to 40, temperature steady near 10 degrees. Over the next few days on the North Coast, expect the rain to stick around until Sunday, when it's looking like you'll get a beautiful sunny day. Daily highs 11 to 15 degrees, overnight lows between 7 and 9 degrees. Tonight in the Terrace-Kitimat area, expect showers, about 5 to 10 millimeters of rain, winds from the south at 20 kilometers an hour, gusting to 40, a low of 7 degrees. Over the next few days in the Terrace Kitimat area, expect a mix of rain and showers, maybe a little sunshine on Sunday. Daily highs 9 to 12 degrees, overnight lows between 4 and 7 degrees. Tonight in the Bulkley Valley and Lakes District, it's looking partly cloudy, becoming cloudy overnight. Winds from the southwest at 20 kilometers an hour, gusting to 40, becoming light this evening, a low of +3. Over the next few days in the Bulkley Valley and Lakes District, expect some rain showers, and it looks like you'll get some sun over the weekend. Daily highs 11 to 13 degrees, overnight lows between 1 and 5 degrees. Checking your highways around the Northwest now. On Highway 16, there's construction in Prince Rupert with a detour in effect, as well as bridge maintenance, construction work, utility work, mowing, and paving operations underway. On Highway 37, watch for construction work as well as bridge construction. On Highway 37A, there's a section with falling rocks as well as bridge maintenance going on. On the Niska Highway, there's mowing going on. And this is what the roads were looking like this afternoon around the region from the view of the province's highway cams. Still to come, the RBC security breach inside job. A bank employee at RBC has been accused of breaching security protocols and accessing personal information. CTV's Abigail Biman reports.
It all started in July with a tip-off complaint from RBC to the Mounties. Police accused then-bank employee Ibrahim El Hakim of accessing, among other things, Prime Minister Mark Carney's personal data. The 23-year-old faces 4 charges: fraud over $5,000, unauthorized use of computer, identity theft, and trafficking in identity information. RCMP won't say if they believe the suspect is linked to organized crime.
This is the Prime Minister's financial information, and what I gather from this is that this is clearly information that could be potentially leveraged by what we call a threat actor.
The case is being handled by the RCMP's Integrated National Security Enforcement Team, but they note there is no threat to the Prime Minister's safety or national security. For its part, RBC says it independently identified unauthorized system access, took immediate action to engage authorities, and El Hakim is no longer employed at the bank. The bank didn't answer CTV News questions about whether high-profile client accounts are given more protection than average Canadians.
It applies to all Canadians, so it just reminds everyone that, privacy and having system to prevent, fraudulent access to anyone's file is something that we should all be concerned about.
I'm not aware of those details, actually. Yeah, but that would worry me. Yeah.
The suspect has another court appearance here in Ottawa next week. Abigail Beeman, CTV News, Ottawa.
Turning to the markets now, Canada's main stock index finished lower, while U.S. markets also retreated. The Canadian dollar fell almost 0.2 cents. The price of gold rose by $3. Oil fell by a cent. Natural gas was up 8 cents. Aluminum was down $23. In Toronto, the TSX was down almost 25 points. The Venture Index was up by 5. In New York, the Dow Jones was down 174 points and the Nasdaq fell by 113 points. Still ahead, magic mushrooms as medicine. The man accused of murdering Robert Pickton says he did it for the victims of the serial killer. Martin Charest admitted in court today to assaulting Pickton with a broken broom in May of 2024. Pickton was convicted of second-degree murder for killing 6 women in BC in 2007. But his trial heard, he confessed to murdering 49 women at his Port Coquitlam pig farm. An innovative idea has blossomed into a successful business. CTV's Sarah Plowman reports.
The homes are tiny, but the hope each offers is huge.
I really didn't think I was going to survive this long. My name's Petra. I'm one of the entrepreneurs here.
Once homeless and feeling hopeless, Petra Haynes now has both and a business.
These are the pillows I have.
She lives here and sells her crafts at a shop steps away where people who were once unhoused are now blossoming entrepreneurs. She just sold a sticker.
It's definitely really helped me. This is my art.
The money, skills, and confidence they earn replaces self-doubt.
Being able to actually have this like a thing and it's really happening, it's mind-blowing.
Marcel Lebrun is the mastermind behind the community, the cafe next door where some work, and this program. He believes purpose is key to unlocking potential.
To see somebody go from unhoused to housed, obviously people think, well, that's great, they're safe and they're warm, but from going from to have a sense of purpose is the most transformative thing by far.
So when the carpenters are finished, I go hunting.
Susan Hayward creates art like these miniature tiny homes from scraps left over from home builds. Her days are more meaningful.
I want to be happy every day, and this is bringing me happiness.
These businesses really are being built on self-belief. They're investing in themselves because somebody else invested in them.
A study out of UVic is researching new therapeutic possibilities. CTV's Anna McMillan reports.
Researchers say the work happening in this University of Victoria lab could help millions of people affected by traumatic brain injuries.
We still lack effective therapies. This work shows that there may be an untapped potential in psychedelics.
They're looking at two psychedelic compounds, psilocybin, often known as magic mushrooms, and another compound that can be found in toad venom and certain plants.
This was actually an experiential learning opportunity for an undergraduate student. And so they delved into the literature. They looked at human studies, preclinical rodent studies, and studies that combine both methodologies.
What they found is the psychedelics may help heal brain injuries by encouraging new neural pathways to form and reducing inflammation in the brain.
There's definitely a lot of stigma around that lingers because of the war on drugs, getting banned in the 1960s and 70s. A lot of people inherently assume that they're dangerous or maybe just recreational drugs, or maybe that they're not used with assisted therapy.
As more research points to various treatment uses for psychedelics, health policy is still catching up. That's according to an organization pushing for legalization and training for healthcare professionals.
Research does move policy. We know that's the case. But from the research that already exists, we thought that we'd have a legal system at this point.
UVic says its new research still needs to be tested.
The emerging evidence from other patient populations, such as with depression or anxiety, are very promising. And there's a lot of similar pathophysiological characteristics between these patients and those that have brain injuries.
The hope is clinical trials will solidify how effective psychedelics are for treating those injuries going forward. Anna McMillan, CTV News, UVic.
That's our news for now. Thanks for watching.